welcoming everybody in to our space today. Have some kind of like field updates. We can open the field when we get to kind of like, we'll do some channeling. But of course, yeah, I would like to say welcome to the 222 portal. Welcome to all the vibes. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening astrologically. There's like a bunch of X-class solar flares that hit yesterday into this morning as well, yesterday afternoon into this morning our time. Yeah, it's just a really, really exciting time for many different reasons. And, you know, if you're watching this from either the replay or listening to your otter, please feel free to drop a comment down below or shoot us a comment in Telegram. My email is up above. I don't know where it's at. There, probably. Feel free to send me an email. I always love chatting with people. I do get comments and emails from time to time, and I always love meeting everybody who's out there joining us in the astral and who's joining us even in the quantum as well too. Okay. Feel solar flare 2 and super hot. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's fire up those light bodies. If they aren't I always love asking if they like consciously have their light body activated, and you know, it's a mixed bag of answers. And I'm like, well, guess what? You're in luck. If you're catching 5 X-class solar flares in a row, there's a good chance that your light body is going to be activated, if not up-leveled, because many of us already have our light bodies. We'll talk about that. And yeah, this is a new photo that I made today, which I thought was really interesting. What came through, because it's got this like lunar, solar. I don't know what's happening on the right, but it's like super prismatic. 3 suns, yeah. I didn't necessarily, I was just like, it came up, and I was like, whoa, I'm not exactly sure what's happening here, but this just feels right. Like something about this is like really hitting. So I'll drop that in the Telegram if you want to grab the HD version of it. Or whenever I email everybody next, I'll include it in there as well too. So yeah, new human template we're going to talk about today. Egg yolk. Looks like an egg yolk, yeah. Like farm pasture-raised eggs. Not the one you buy at like Wally World, Walmart, you know what I mean? You're in the States. If you're overseas, you probably have no idea. But yeah, so I just want to say that this information is channeled, so I want you to use your discernment. A lot of it we have channeled, like the new human template we channeled together. We co-channeled that frequency together on, I think, the galactic gridding. I just put the replay up. It could have been more than like a couple weeks ago. But again, I just want you to use your discernment, especially when it's like channeled. You don't know like and understand like what feels right, what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you, and if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. JJ would say like put it on the bookshelf, and then if you hear it later and say, "Oh, I've heard this before," in February of 2026, you can go back to the bookshelf, pull it off, and reread it again. And Aurora actually got the preview, past, present, future, and divine energies. Left is like dinosaurs energy, and the left
or the
is like
right.
Candyland. Okay, got it. Nice. Okay. Candyland. Oh, that's such a fun game. I love Candyland. There's a little bit of like mushies at the bottom too, which I like that. Shout out to the Quantum Mycelium Network across all time and space and timelines. Yeah, so Aurora was on our call yesterday. We had a bunch of updates come through, so that's where some of this is from. Some of this has also been just kind of weaving in the field, and I want to hear like your updates and your channeling, like what's coming through, and then we'll hop in and actually do some channeling It's not that many slides, like maybe 5 slides total. So we've been talking about, Golden Atlantis. I'm just going to turn this volume down just a little bit. So we've been talking about Golden Atlantis, crystalline Golden Atlantis specifically, has come through not only in our container here in the Limitless Creators, but also in other containers like JJ's containers. I've seen a bunch of other people picking up on that, what's in the field too. And I just put in there that, let me pull my notes out here, that Golden Atlantis, so the golden timelines is like the higher harmonized version, the highest version. Some would say like crystalline, golden. What I wrote down is essentially like utilized as a point of reference. So Kemet or Egypt. Kemet was essentially a province. Kemet was a province of Atlantis. When Atlantis fell, Kemet survived and became Egypt. And as a point of reference, where I'm going with this is ancient Egypt. To us, ancient Egypt. Egypt is so old that it studied itself. So when we talk about like point of reference, humans have this thing with like at least the written history. Like we like to have a point of reference, and a lot of times when we're thinking about golden, crystalline, above, sometimes we have to have these like references. I wrote in there like Mu, Atlantis, the Inner Earth Councils, and then even beyond the ice wall, there are councils that are happening in the now moment. We don't really talk about that too much in Limitless Creators, but these are all kind of like points of references. There are timelines attached to this, golden and above, and then some lower timelines too. In our timeline, Atlantis fell, but when we channeled for kind of like the crystalline Atlantis, we talked about there are timelines where Atlantis didn't fall. Atlantis actually ascended. So just kind of like a point of reference, a frame of view. I don't know if that's right or not. Elements. A lot of us are water that are in the creators. And we've been calling in fire for a while. We had the fire codex recently. That was the end of 2025. And I've been working with fire for like 18 months. And then the next element that's coming in is kind of like earth. That's what I'm feeling. And kind of this picture on the right depicts it in a way too. So this picture on the right is kind of like the yin-yang. Yin being feminine, very like water, yang being like the fire. And you can see there's some like earth energy, some earth element coming in there as well. I put like earth to me represents like council. I'm thinking like even like indigenous councils, wisdom, remembrance. We've been talking about like the sands of time, or the salt of the earth has come up for many of us on a bunch of different calls. And to me that's really kind of a representation of this crystalline architecture that's like anchoring and coming in. And it's come in, and like I said, we talked about like the sands or the shifting sands. We talked about like the salt as well. And obviously like it's a crystalline structure. Sacred union has been weaving in the field for a while. Divine union, sacred union. Tantra has come in as well, and I just wrote on here, so this is kind of that sexual tension between the masculine and the feminine, which represents that pure potentiality of like higher consciousness and that like actual embodiment. The galactic children, which we weave with for a while. I think we did 3 calls like formally, and then a bunch of other channeling over the month with the galactic children. The galactic children is just kind of an umbrella term or representation of like all the different children frequencies. And they're currently incarnating and will be coming in to incarnate as well. And we've tapped them in the galactic children in many, many different ways. The hybrid children, prismatic children, indigo children, like the divine, like your inner child, the divine child frequency as well too. I know it seems like a lot, so just kind of like harmonize all of the words. And if you want, just like stare at the picture on the right-hand side if it's like that's too many words. So there has been some kind of collective disharmony or dissonance between, there is even like this frequency of separation between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We talk sometimes about like the square peg and round hole. So shout out to Rachel. That's actually Rachel's term, so we'll give her the due credit. But that's much more of a collective frequency. So square peg, round hole is like essentially like a mismatch, right? Disharmony, dissonance. And we've been working together to harmonize that across all timelines. So as we have activated our frequency remembrance, particularly over the previous year, 2025, it's become much more conscious, activating that frequency of remembrance and like feeling that in our bodies, feeling that mentally, emotionally, subatomic, into the DNA. We're working or playing to harmonize that across all of our timelines. So at times there is quite a bit that comes across. Sometimes if you have like a partner, or you're in a relationship, or maybe even if you have like very close platonic friendships, you're noticing that some of this is like coming up to be like worked through, if you're consenting to work through that. I wrote on here, so when we were in Egypt in September of 2025, there was an anchoring of this kind of updated frequency for specifically multidimensional soul integration. So multidimensional soul integration or soul integration is a modality that JJ Brighton has channeled, and a lot of us were in her community. And there was an updated frequency that dropped in probably like, I think from what she shared with us, it was like June, like probably July or August timeframe. But we actually anchored that in September when we were there in Egypt. So specifically, there is a frequency of that modality that is available to help harmonize this disharmony across all timelines. I wrote down here, so releasing any attachments to the stories. We love human beings. We love stories. Just like kids. Remember when you were a kid and you're in bed and you were just waiting for your parents? Like the stories. We love stories. We love storytelling. We love to hear stories. We love attaching to stories, right? And that's interesting that just came through. I never thought about that, how much you love being like read stories to when you were a kid, or like when you're in school, your teacher would read stories to you. But releasing that attachment to the stories is a good foundation or a good way, or like one of those threads to help harmonize that frequency between the masculine and the feminine. One of the things that came through, that was channeled through, is a good way to kind of embody this, is you can sit across from one another, divine masculine, divine feminine. Now again, it doesn't need to be male-bodied and female-bodied for masculine and feminine, so just keep that in mind. We always say that, but I feel like it needs to be stated here. It could be 2 female bodies, 2 male bodies, just a representation of the divine feminine, a representation of the divine masculine. You can basically sit across from one another, like holding and opening your sacred space, and you can speak light language. And what's really powerful about this, and I'll share with you, is that speaking light language allows you to bypass the human, the analytical mind, right? So you get a higher throughput, if you can think about like, Google Fiber or just fiber optic cable, compared to like dial-up that we had back in the day, right? Or even like binary coding, So you get a higher throughput, and you get a much deeper kind of like almost quantum, or, well, not almost, but you do get this kind of like quantum understanding between one another. It also, you have that heart-to-heart coherence as well, that mirroring that you have of one another. And I put on here the second bullet, field coherence matters for clarity. So I have tried this several times, anchored this, embodied this several times, and it one time was not very successful and didn't really help, or it did help a little bit, but not much. And then the second time, divine masculine, divine feminine, speaking light language to one another, that witnessing that you have, or that mirroring, really, really was super powerful, very, very activating, that transmission or that sharing of the codes. It came across kind of in a frequency of like sacred feminine rage, I guess. So there was that was part of it too, so that was very powerful. So just something to think about if you are going to kind of try and embody that divine feminine, divine masculine, or even that heart-to-heart coherence as well too. You can do like knees touching. I don't know if that matters, but for us, we did knees touching, and we started out not touching, and then we did end up finally being like pretty close to one another. And I think there's like a key there, something about that specifically. We talked about also how a partner, or I would say like even like a close platonic friend, you get this kind of like mirroring, this increased level of mirroring that allows you to kind of dig up or reflect in a way that is different than your own inner work. So a lot of us, we're doing a lot of our own inner work, right, ourselves. But something about building that field with one another is the synergy that comes from that, the amplification of that. And if you think about like a frequency wave, there's like an amplitude of the wave as well too. I don't know. Here, I'll make it like there's an amplitude. So, and again, I catch myself all the time kind of wondering like how, like asking spirit, like how or why, and how can we, anchor or embody this. It's more of an action step per se, right? An aligned action step. And the answer that I got through was being open and just fully resonant to receive this, and then also start embodying it in the now moment. And I would highly encourage you too, like these are all suggestions. Obviously it's like channeled what I'm sharing with you. So definitely take the suggestions and you work with your own spiritual practice, what feels most resonant to you. So, but you can start embodying that in the now moment. I did want to move on to the new human template. So new human template, let me read what came up here. Oh, woven during last Monday's call. Nice, Christina sharing her quantum weaving. Thank you for sharing that. I'll bring it up here in the end of the call. Moving on to the new human template. So others are talking about, you'll hear kind of the verbiage of like future human template or ancient. I've heard ancient future human as well too. So kind of harmonize the words, whatever feels most aligned to you. And we channeled that it's kind of like this, and this is a co-channeling frequency, this 3-step blueprint or process or protocol. We co-channel this like together. So step 1, activating your frequency of remembrance. So in much more plain, non-spiritual terms, if you're just hearing this for the first time, I talk about it, or others talk about it, like when you get incarnated here, when we're born, when we choose to come here, we put on that like veil of forgetting, right? So one way I was thinking about it earlier was like when you're, I guess 5, roughly 4 or 5 years old, your memory like resets. So there's nothing there before the age of 4. There's nothing there before the age of 5. It's like roughly kindergarten for most people. That veil of forgetting is something that happens that we consent to when you come here. So essentially it's like a blank slate, right? So activating that frequency of remembrance allows us to basically lift that veil of forgetting and start connecting to your multidimensional self, start connecting to parallel past, future lives, your other timelines. Step 2 is a kind of a broad term, crystalline anchoring of the crystalline architecture. So on the Limitless Creator so far, we've talked about the crystalline nervous system. We've kind of gone in depth on that. I guess I could put that link, I'll put that link on the updated slide when I upload this as well too, to the crystalline nervous system. And then what's coming in is the crystalline heart and the crystalline higher mind. That's kind of what we've been channeling together as, I think Erica specifically mentioned the crystalline, it was either the crystalline heart or the higher mind, so I just want to give her credit for that too. Shout out to our sister Erica. I have seen this also in, we talked specifically, and I put light bodies. So before, if you're hearing this, so like several or multiple light bodies coming online. We've talked about that in different ways. Oh, hey, there's Rachel. Rachel says, I didn't have a full forgetting when I came in. I remember and still remember being 2 to 3. I love that. You hear about that, and I'm always like, I think that's so dope to have some residual. And then there's also, who is it specifically that talks about this? I can't think off the top of my head. It might have been Bashar, but it's channeled again where they're talking about how the new children, that they won't have to forget, essentially. Like, you don't have to put on that veil of forgetting. So there is this kind of like new updated frequency. Light bodies, so the way I've been able to articulate it is seeing multiple light bodies. And then also, which may be your crystalline light body. I typically have seen it as like dragon light body, elemental light bodies in particular, but there is this new updated frequency of, I'm seeing it as just multiple light bodies. It looks like the most recent way that I've seen it that I can articulate it, I'm heating up too. Like I just had a flash of a wave just like smashed my body right now. Like I just got super hot as I'm talking about this. The most recent way that I've seen it, and this is as of last week, and I'm just giving you an example. Again, use your own discernment, your own organic channel whenever you're thinking about these topics that we're talking about. It looks like to me the outline of their body, very like light blue, holographic in a way, or opalescent would probably be a much more aligned frequency, but it's like looking at their physical body and then you close your eyes and like you look at them energetically, like with your clear abilities, and it's almost like a second skin. So being able to see their light body as like opalescent, translucent, holographic, crystalline. To me, it's been like the most recent one I saw was like light blue, and then wings. So there's been seeing wings or feeling your wings, like we have our wing chakras. So if you want to take your hands, you get a little somatic here. Let's get some movement in too. I got so hot right now, like it is, I can't even tell you. It's like I just sat in the sauna. Yeah, so many different shapes too. Thank you. Yes. So I'm seeing crystalline wings come in, and when I think of wings, I think of like dragon wings, fairy wings, much more like traditional shapes, like butterfly wings as well too. And what I saw recently, and this kind of goes along with the crystalline architecture, is it looks like the shape of a crystal. So slender, like a crystal point. You know what a crystal point looks like? I actually have one here I can show you. It's not like super large, but I'll give you an example of what it looks like. But they're much more slender than normal wings. Here's my... So this is a crystal point, right? See how it's got a point, and then it's slender, right? If you can see that, hopefully you guys can see that. But imagine this, but like very large and has wings, and like opalescent in color, right? So normal wings, when you think like butterfly, dragon, fairy wings, now I'm seeing you just came from a crystalline container. Oh, that's so cool. Well, I'm almost finished with the slides, and then let's definitely chat. I want to hear all of the deets. But I saw a set of wings, so two, that look like large crystals. And when I say large, like they expanded out probably, I'm sitting, but they expanded out probably like, I would say 2 to 3 feet, maybe 4 feet, like this, basically. And the point would be at the top. So I put a link there if you want to hit the link, and you can go back to the call where we co-channeled the New Human template if you're watching this from the linear future. And then recently Diana Cooper, she has been talking about, I don't know, was this the container you came from? Asking for a friend, Rachel. But Diana Cooper she just posted a video not that long ago about the crystalline architecture that she's calling in, and kind of like she's doing a container right now. And according to what I saw in her video, she's channeling with Merlin, and it's crystalline light body, crystalline heart, crystalline brain, and crystalline eyes. So I thought that that was kind of interesting. Like, nope, just okay, cool. Yeah, I definitely would love to hear what you got coming through. And then step 3. Part 3 is a trilogy, the embodiment of galactic consciousness. And I know that that is really fancy words when we say, like, if you're like how, like, what is the embodiment of galactic consciousness? I'm going to try and think of like a simple way to basically state that isn't like super spiritual, but obviously, like, if you're on this call or you're watching this replay, like you're definitely connected to your multidimensionality, your galactic consciousness. But the frequency of embodiment, so you also hear people talk about there's like different levels of spirituality, like level 1, level 2, level 3. The embodiment to me is much more of like, so it is the I am, it is the Christ consciousness, it's like who we are, right? It's not who I say I am, it's not who you think I am, it's not who I'm portraying myself as, it's not my job in spirituality. This is like actually living that embodiment frequency to me. So honor all parts of you and life. I like that. Honoring all parts of you and your life. And not to say that, what am I trying to say here too? So there is, I'm just gonna bring it through just a little bit here. So embodiment, I could talk about like my embodiment. For me is, it's a spectrum, right? You start out and you get connected and you start getting super multidimensional, and you start converging all of these timelines, activating some of this crystalline architecture, and then you really start embodying, like living who you are. Like you can no longer turn a blind eye. I'm thinking of some of my friends who it's like, hey, once you know, you can't unknow. Once we went to Egypt together, life has changed essentially forever from that point. And a lot of us hit that kind of convergence, that quantum convergence in 2025 at some point. Some of us are hitting it now, at the end of January, at the beginning of February in 2026. And I just want to say, like, if you're listening to this, you don't have to do it alone. So happy to weave with you, grid with you, work with you in the field. And yeah, it's just what's coming through is like embodiment through spiritual community as well too. So there's like our own personal embodiment, and then there's our embodiment, like unity consciousness, like, yeah, a much more collective frequency. I think this is the last slide. Oh, I guess I double tap. No. If you're wondering how, I did double tap that. Okay, I'll edit the slide anyways. Way showers. This came through. We talked about it yesterday briefly, and I'll touch on it here. The way showers. Some of the way showers, and maybe this is you. Maybe this resonates with you. Maybe this is something that you're working with in the field, or maybe we're on the spectrum. are anchoring that sacred union, divine union, embodiment in the now moment. I think there is a collective frequency of this too, and I think many of us are on this path of sacred union, divine union. Kelly Kalani's community as well is one of those like larger communities who's doing kind of like large scale work on like inner union as well too. That kind of came through. And then the updated frequency of what relationships look like. I won't really dive too much into that, but essentially as a spiritual person, as a multidimensional soul, you may have noticed that certain relationships are ending and new relationships are coming in, right? Whether or not that is conscious or unconscious, or whether or not you're calling and manifesting that in actively, or you're working much more in like a collective or field frequency, maybe you're just holding space, right? For what this sacred union, divine union, and relationships, human relationships are going to look like. And I'm just going to leave it kind of like really, I know that's not super, I'm just going to leave it really broad because I want you to kind of feel into that with your own organic channel and see like how that feels to you. I know I'm connected to many people right now who their relationships are shifting, have ended, are in the process of shifting and ending, just due to what we've all felt basically since like June, July of 25, moving into the now moment of 2 February, 2 Portal Day, 2026. And then I'll just move on from that. The X-Class flares, so this is hot off the press as of this morning and last night. Thank you for touching on the relationship. Yeah, absolutely. I want to hear too, I'm just breezing through this last part and then I'm going to open it up for coach healing. I definitely want to hear about how relationships have been feeling for you, how relationships have been shifting, how that divine union frequency is anchoring, how sacred union is anchoring for you. There's so much architecture. Yeah, there's a lot. That could be like a whole hour-long thing on itself, but I just wanted to mention here, because we've had a pretty active round of solar flare activity, and maybe you felt this, maybe you noticed this, maybe you're waking up last night and you didn't exactly know why, but there's been a high level of solar flare activity. We've been getting bursts of X-Class that have come in, but this is an increased level, particularly when 3i rounded the sun. We had an increased round of solar flare activity, and we were getting some X-Class solar flares. But this short period of time, starting from roughly like, I guess, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. up until like this morning, have been almost like, I would say, like kind of unprecedented. The high level. It will be arriving to, and don't quote me because I'm not like have like a degree in this, but like roughly it's like anywhere from 24 to 48 hours like is when it arrives here on Earth. So the CME, coronal mass ejection, happens, and then depending on how the sun is oriented to the Earth, because plenty of these can happen, but it doesn't necessarily like impact the Earth. We're actually this frequency is going to be arriving here very soon. So Wednesday, Thursday, yeah. Which is pretty typical. It's like 24, 48, 72 hours, depending on what's happening. Yeah. So I think that's all I have to say about that. Oh yeah, shout out to Annette. I wanted to bring this up last week, but for whatever reason, these codes that she drew here have just been really super, super resonant and activating, and I'll drop the picture into our Zoom. Let me just pull this up. Let's see. This one in particular has been really activating, and it just felt right landing here. So credit to Annette I love the yin yang, solar lunar. There's some like higher dimensional architecture. I heard aperture. That was interesting. Aperture. If you've ever worked with airplanes at all, this actually looks like an instrument on an airplane. It's got the little arrows. It's got the little like compass on it. But yeah, leave me a comment or type something in the comments below if you're watching this on the replay or you're seeing this in Telegram. Would love to hear, and I want to share that with Annette, like what's coming through for you. But there's definitely some architecture. I heard amplitude. A lot of A's. I don't know why. There's like even a little pyramid here. There's a Nike symbol. Let me just pull this up a little bit. I'll pull it up on the Zoom so we can see it. Yeah, there's like a little pyramid, sundial. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Well, yeah, please feel free to. Thanks for your patience on getting through those slides. I definitely want to hear what's coming through for everybody. I want to hear like your thoughts, your co-channeling, your co-weaving, your gridding as well too. Let me share the sound again. Hey, what's up, Vincent? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, who's ever ready, feel free to just unmute. We're all calibrated here. Sharing sound. I'm going to drop Annette's codes here in the chat as well too, so you guys can have that. Yeah, let me know if any of that felt resonant for you, if any of that felt true. Any thoughts on like the new human template, divine union, sacred union, crystalline architecture in particular. Would love to hear about if you got anything to share, Rachel, from the crystalline container too. If not, that's okay. There's no pressure.
I'm here. I'm just like eating dinner, so like at the same time.
Yeah,
but, like,
take your time.
You know?
I'm just
but
looking for Annette's codes. I want to drop that for us.
What came through in that container was just like very much related to crystalline grid and like a new. It's not new. It's just kind of like reorienting the 0 point for like at least from a planetary perspective and well, no, I'll say planetary plus or all life, like the frequency, the vibration that things are putting out. There's also disruptive, like there has been disruptive technologies that kind of like, think of like dogs acting up, like EMFs or things like that, like those types of frequencies that are just kind of like intrusive at times or just not calibrated. Well, as we are in the upliftment, and as we have our crystalline bodies, that's a higher octave. And we've been talking about this for a while anyway, but just kind of like the technology and the elements and everything just like kind of wants to vibrate at like a nice like 0 point like ohm for a second to just kind of reset. Which kind of reorients everything to like its own origin point frequency. And then also dismantles, or how do I say this, kind of like makes old tech that's not organically in vibration, like a little bit obsolete or upgraded. And I think that's the words I have for it now, but that's like where I was coming from. So, and then entered into the space and I felt it was kind of resonant.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Rachel. Yeah, and give April, tell her we appreciate all the work that she's doing as well too, and I love the co-weaving and the gridding that we're all kind of um, doing together. There's been something too that I pinged off of what you were saying, and we picked up on this in which container was it? I think it was stream of consciousness maybe, but don't quote me. There's something about you talked about like EMF, but I'm seeing it in a way too. It came across, and we had to kind of like we swapped to like this encrypted protocol in stream of consciousness or galactic replay. But it came across. It's like a quantum. It's something about the network itself. The network. Something about the network itself has been kind of. I haven't been able to like exactly nail it down. It has come through, and it did make itself known on that one particular call, and we swapped to kind of this quantum encoding like protocol essentially. So we were unencrypted, and then I got the channel from, I forget who we were channeling with, one of the councils. It was probably, I think it was the Quantum Home Base Council, that's based out of the asteroid belt. And yeah, there was something in particular about the network. So we talk about throughput before. Throughput has something to do with your capacity as well too. So our human capacity, that's why we're anchoring kind of this crystalline nervous system, so that we have a much more high, we have the depth basically to I want to say like live in or embody this new updated higher octave. But also there's something coming across that I don't have the human words for it just yet. Maybe I'll just channel it. It's on the harmonic side, so it's on the I wish there's not good human words for it, but that's what I got so far. I know that that's not super clear, but also yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, so I think on the outside of Earth there is, so in the surface there is a crystalline network. There is a crystalline grid work. Crystalline grid, and on top of the Earth there is a layer of diamond grid. So I think Rachel is building the crystal grid. I'm building the diamond grid. So it's to in so well, the two grid are working together, and is working together to increase humanity's light body and capacity with the current solar flare, and also all the eclipse is going to increase humanity's capacity. So once humanity's capacity reach certain level, the new it is going to become more quantum, and all the quantum technology will start coming in, and it's going to replace all the like lower density technology, but it's all happening gradually as humanity's capacity increase.
Yeah, thank you, Aurora. Because I don't really know how to put all that into words at times, but like that's definitely happening. That's definitely part of my mission. We forget we have crystals, like we are crystalline, right? So like when we think about that, like how are you vibrating? Like what emanation of essence are you like giving off and which, how they'll say like, oh, don't put this crystal next to this crystal or it's going to be like this, like that type of like think like that. But then from a micro level, make it you. And from a macro level, make it all.
That's one heck of a micro to macro.
We're all one.
Yeah, as I was connecting to a crystal the other day and using like my tuning forks to like put some vibrations into my body, and it was speaking to me on like after I put the crystal on my body, I used my tuning fork to put the vibration through the crystal, and it was toning me into like the the templates that were inside of the crystal itself for its lifetime. Like I've said before, is like when I communicate with a crystal, it's like it's always showing me its entire lifetime. So each crystal has its individual lifetime, like uh, within its structure itself. And as it was showing, what it was really showing me was like um, that every time you connect certain points, like down to the microscopic level of the crystal, when it was forming, it connects molecules together in the pattern as it grows and it is forming within the earth itself. And that's kind of what we're doing, is we're connecting the chemicals of ourself to become solidified. And it's very important for us to purify those chemicals that are within ourselves. And those, by like when we are within ourselves and we're purifying excuse me, those chemicals, it's adding the pure template that we know that chemical is supposed to be. And that's all it is. Once we put those chemicals together and they form together with another chemical, source downloads the life of it into itself, like the consciousness. As that consciousness expands, like the crystal had me pick it up after I was done and move it in the light. And it had several facets in it that were showing multiple different colors that it had created in its facet. And that color is the vibration that it's putting off. When it's putting the vibration and the color off, it creates the sound that is its purest form. And as we're going through and we're like taking the crystal and making it in ourselves, because this is something that hasn't been done before. We're experimenting with the chemical compositions within our own bodies to do that. And when we do that, it causes heat to happen, especially when we make the right connections in the chemicals within our body. And one of the reasons why it's important to activate our thymus gland right now is it's a master chemical template provider. It helps your body structurize itself. It helps water structurize as it goes into your body. And when you're able to use your body to structurize the water, you never need anything outside of yourself. So that's kind of what it was showing me, and that's like the information I was getting from it. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for all those shares, and I just want to say a shout out to every single person here who's on this call, who's embodying like all these concepts, like the new human template, the crystalline architecture, the crystalline nervous system, all of the different initiations, tower moments, activations that we are walking ourselves through. Some of us are doing it like much more like personally, and then some of us are doing that together in community, and some of us are working like with a much more collective frequency. And as you can imagine, having the ability or capability to kind of sustain that, and it's all about like pacing too. One of the things that I was thinking about, I just want to share, and then I'll turn it back over, is some of the people that we're weaving with in our life, friends, family members, coworkers, acquaintances, people that you're just meeting kind of out and about or in community, kind of watching that frequency shift and change and manifest through, I'm thinking like Q3, Q4 of 25, even in, because we just finished the first month of January. If you think about the first month of January, we were talking when the call started, Christina, on how it seems like time is kind of like it's doing this dilation thing where each day could be multiple days, where the whole month would just seem to just be like 75 days for the month of January, you know, which is like, it's been really interesting to be able to kind of observe or objectively observe what I'm manifesting in my life and the people who are kind of weaving in and through as well, and then really having the ability to kind of take an elevated point of view, and then not really like I've been kind of wrestling with this myself too, on like the attachment to the stories, the attachment to the people, the attachment to certain relationships, you know, and it's been really magical just in this first month alone, how many high vibe, high frequency, magical, spiritual, or just human beings who are on their path that I've already met, you know, and it's been only the first month of 26, and these kind of sustained initiations that we've received and that we are receiving, and that we're kind of preparing us as we're moving ahead into kind of this fire horse frequency. We got the solar flares that are coming in. There's a bunch of astrology that's like hitting as well. So it just kind of feels like, you know, like divine alignment, or I guess I'm interested to hear how it feels for you, but for me, it just feels like, it just feels like it's exciting to know and like be grounded in that frequency of kind of like what is coming, you know, with all of the solar flares, the astrology, the crystalline architecture that we're anchoring in, the new human template that's coming in, or ancient future human template, whatever feels most aligned to you. So yeah, just really, really grateful, excited to be walking this path together with every single person here, and our friends who are weaving with us in the quantum and the astral and on the replays as well too. So I just wanted to name that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, as Glenn was talking about that, I was getting a download from my experience with the crystal again about how energy is dynamic, and it was showing me one of the processes of a crystal forming itself is it's inside the earth under pressure, and there's heat involved sometimes, but the key element is like the water flowing in and out, bringing the chemical composition that the crystalline structure needs, that it's actually gravitating towards itself, because once the crystal starts to form, it it actually is pulling more of itself to itself to become more fully what it is and to become its fullest representation, basically. So there's like, I was saying that like the energy is dynamic. That means it flows in and out at certain rates. It may not be the same every time, but it's going to flow in and out and have a purpose behind it when it does. And that's like when we structure water within ourselves, or even if we're going to give our plants water, giving our water just a little bit of a clockwise spin to it is helping to structure the water and reorganize it in and then when we take it in within ourselves, our body is ignited by that energetic form of the water to produce the crystals that it needs within itself. One of the reasons we've been activating, like when we first started to like go onto the spiritual journey, it was like activate your pineal gland. I mean, that's a first place a crystal is forming in our body, you know, like that first initial crystal. And when we like are taking in the water and we ask it to connect to us, that water is sending the codes right to our pineal gland, and that and if it's communicating with our thymus gland also, it creates the dynamic nature of the water flowing in us, because it goes past our thymus gland and then it's communicating directly to our pineal gland, and that connection, that geometry that it creates is like a triangle. And so it like the reason the pyramids are made out of triangles is because they're highly energetic for the earth plane itself. And so like just connecting to triangles is like one of our first steps that like that we kind of need to take, I guess, if you feel called to it, to like look at triangles as like something that's part of this journey that we're on right at the moment, this moment that we're called to. Thank you. That's all I have for right now.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, definitely confirming triangles. Thanks for naming that, because I've been seeing triangles in a bunch of different ways lately. I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. Also, like high frequency pitch, or just high frequency in general, like in the ears. Golden triangles, okay. In the ears too. I don't know what it is. It's been okay. We got a triple confirmation on the triangles. It's been like really sustained for me lately, like the high pitch frequencies. Probably for the last month. I haven't really like shared that with anybody, but I've just noticed. I was like, man, this is. And it's interesting too, because even what I was listening to something, I think it was like a podcast or something. So I'll be talking to people, and then it'll go like higher, or I'll be listening to something in real time, and as I process it, like the pitch, it's particularly for me, it's the right side. I'm hearing it left, but the right is where it's super loud. It'll expand too, and I'm just like, I don't know. I figured I'd just share that if anybody else is noticing that.
I'd like to say, yeah, absolutely. The ringing. What I was hearing today was like we're all experiencing our new master guides who are coming in. Like they're since we're all up masters on our path and we've accepted that, and that we're calling in freedom to ourselves, that these new guides that we have are stepping in, and they're at this new frequency that is part of the ringing in our ears, and they're like in a constant communication with us right now, because like our soul guidance is very online right at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting a lot of confirmation in the chat on ear ringing, ear pitch. I don't know if Stacy or Christina, anybody else had anything that they wanted to share. You don't have to share, but I just feel like might have something as well too.
So I just want to confirm like on the new guides coming through, because when you were speaking, Vincent, that's your name, right? Vincent. I right before you started talking about that, there was someone in my dining room flickering, like a man figure, and I hadn't connected with him yet. So that was like the first time I was seeing him. So after this call, I was gonna go check that out. And so you just saying that connected the dots for me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that confirmation also. I appreciate that. My guides lit me up from like, woo, yay, love that.
And then I also just wanted to kind of retouch a little bit on like divine partnership. I do feel like a really big shift as far as 2026 coming in. Like there was just a lot of changes really quickly happening and new people coming in, or, you know, um, it almost feels like a reconnection or re-opportunities, like so like maybe misconnections where two people are more in alignment. It feels like that's coming into fruition as well. So it's like the message to, if you're seeking or wanting that deeper connection within your foundation of divine partnership, to really clear out your heart space, and put in that intention, but be really open to what that looks like, and spend some time getting those clear downloads, and especially in the first couple months of this year, because that's going to be a great energetic foundation or template. And then everything else will come in a lot easier as the divine templates start layering.
I was getting a big ping on like the Pleiadians have like they are like masters of this like slightly divine template that they been playing with for quite a bit of their existence. And like they came in and they were saying to me, connect to your Pleiadian higher self and trust them when they're guiding you on this, is what I heard. So like if anybody's who's seeking and looking for that, like there's way more to it, and it's kind of like I was telling everybody, I think on our last limited creators call, about how we kind of are calling in to ourselves a little bit higher octave of interaction, which is what I've called the divine instant. basically, and you have, when you meet and you're talking to people, the more meaningful that you can make it, the higher the divine connection of soul to soul becomes. Basically, it flows freer from your heart, especially if you, like Stacy said, have your open.
You might have cut out there for a second, Vincent, at the end. Yeah, I think you cut out at the end, brother, but I think we got like 90% of it. I just want to say that the divine templates layering, that's super activating. Like, I like the way that you stated that, and something that came through as both you and Vincent were chatting, and which I wasn't even really thinking about this, was like further invitation to basically how do I say this? Little throat chakra activation, little throat chakra there. Not wanting to say it, and some hesitation, but also like a further invitation to release the misalignment. So we're still continuing. I'm thinking of myself, I'm thinking of some of my friends that I'm close to as well. We're still continuing to hang on to some of those threads or filaments, some of those relationships or misalignments, for whatever the reason is, right? Whatever the reason is, and there is an invitation to find the space and capacity to like release those. We've been doing quite a bit of that in 25 and into 26. A lot of us are getting those messages like pretty loud too. I'm hearing it in different ways as well, like in my personal life, and then also people that are that I'm chatting with and that are sending me messages, and we're so yeah, that just came through. So I figured I'd you know, as we're embodying and calling in those higher octaves, the higher dimensional templates, and I just want to confirm what Stacey said too, like we're seeing people come in, and I'm also channeling people that are coming. So I've already seen people come in the first month, and then I'm channeling that there are still people that are on the way, that are coming, that we're going to be in co-creation with, and from a human kind of standpoint, like you need to have basically room for them to land in, right? And if your cup is filled, like I'm drinking my structured water here, which Vincent mentioned, is filled, right? You need somewhere for them to land. If that analogy kind of makes sense, because it is just like a weave. It's a grid, it's a weave, and we've talked previously even before, kind of, and I think Rachel touched on it a little bit too, that there are some things that are still, you know, if you look out into the world, there is some chaos frequency, that is some more timelines that are still trying to like weave. There's some like other timelines that are still, we're still seeing those overlays, right? They're clearing, and they're harmonizing, and they're basically disappearing, but we're still able to perceive it just because of the overlays. So continuing to like have that like inner faith and walk that ascension path, and reaching out to community and like gridding and weaving with them, and like continuing your alignment too. I'm seeing like I don't really know how to describe it. The way that it comes across to me is like tertiary or secondary, and this isn't a direct channeling. This is much more like collective. Tertiary or secondary kind of like relationships that can be draining or can be siphoning. Not saying like most of us have cleared out like our primary family members, our primary relationships, our close connections, and they're very like aligned, right? We did that in 25, and we're doing that now. But what I'm seeing is like tertiary, secondary people. I ran into some this weekend too, where it was like, hey, I went to some of these workshops, but then I'm meeting people, and it's like, ooh, you know, if you're intuitive or empathic, or you have the ability to channel it, you kind of know what it is the second, even before you meet them. So I figured I'd name that.
One of the things that's come through into my field is that like we're interacting with people who like have a lot of guilt, and like guilt is definitely a thing that like causes fear within a lot of like our daily life. But it's one of the things that like I've kind of been taught lately is that like um, giving these people like a blessing, kind of like, you know, allow them to have like a blessing like from your heart to theirs. And you know, it's not that you have to say anything to them, but it's like these people are actually holding the pressure that we need to crystallize everything that's happening right now. And so it's like they're actually doing some of the hard work. And some, you know, obviously some of the people that we are seeing within our like daily scope of beings that are in existence on the planet, that in the timeline that we're on, are you know, they're not going to join us where we're headed to, but you know, they're holding a certain vibration for the pressure to be put upon the like the things. And we're like with the solar flares and everything, when we take that light into ourselves, we're adding the fire to that, and like we allow spirit to come in through us. And like that's one of the things with the fire horse coming in, is that the fire is spirit, and it's here to cause drastic change. And we're gonna, like, the more we can control the fire within ourselves, the easier it is for these other people to either, you know, come along with us or make the choice to not come along with us. And like when we allow a blessing to go out to them, or you know, to anybody that, you know, we feel like might be affected by what's going on in the collective consciousness, that we are helping to like bring that right structured colored light that like we're crystallizing into the planet. Yeah, that's what I have from that. Thank you.
Stacy said, I love that. I'm going to do weekly blessings for the new couple months.
The next couple months. Bad at typing. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I like that too. Rachel, I was also, I don't remember, now that I had brought it up on this call, I don't remember if we had chatted about that kind of updated MSI frequency that had come across specifically for harmonizing across timelines. Like, I I don't know. I can't remember if I had shared that with you or we had even chatted about that for it was specifically for relationships, and I've ran into it in my in-person frequency too, running into multidimensional couples as well who share with me a portion of their story, and then I'm able to kind of go deeper with them as well too. When I share with them, like, I got right ear confirmation on this, like, hey, here's an updated frequency that came across in this modality that I'm certified in. I've experienced this. Somebody has led me through a session with this, and I'm able to lead others through that session. So, yeah, I can't remember if we had chatted about that or not, honestly.
Did it come up in a call? I mean, I know what I have. Like, I can't speak for everybody, but in regards to like my own time, how do I say this? Time in relationship to my light body, like organically, like I have like, I don't want to call it technology because they're saying it's like part of me without an added thing. But also in the window that we're in right now, like the frequency is really just letting it lift because of what's occurring, like with this shedding and this higher octave, like old stuff. It can be a blank slate if you allow it. So I don't want to put words on it because it feels limiting. Yet I work in frequency and harmonics. Like mostly, that's like my thing. Fields, frequency, and harmonics. But that's what I'm witnessing. Like things are just lifting when they're being witnessed. I don't want to say even without the person's sovereignty, but just more so like anything ancestral that like wants to go, like can go. Like it'll just go because we carry so much. Sovereignty is involved in an individual, like personal human level, but a lot of other parts of us that have been like around and like at different octaves, like that know it wants to like return back or be like put on the shelf, but like or like just kind of like returned home, I guess we could say, to like whatever frequency it wants to be at, like in the most harmonized way. Like it'll just kind of naturally do it lately, what I'm noticing. But I don't really recall in regards to like a specific frequency mention, like in any of like the MSI practitioner circles, specifically or surrounding time, besides the concept that just like we know time is working with us and we're working with time naturally right now.
Yeah, I love that you said that the slate can be blank if we allow it, because I've actually experienced that myself too, and just even not really with like clients, but I'm thinking like personal, like interactions where there is kind of an offer at the table, like and I'm saying like energetic to like, let's clear the slate, but then also there's some resistances. We talked about the square peg round hole, the masculine, the feminine, this kind of like disharmony frequency a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, but that's in a repaired way. I'd call it like how do I say this? Collectively over time in regards to the stories, what was coming through with like myth or that type of, where you can have a character like Athena and Zeus came up, and it's been in like other scenarios. It doesn't have to be Athena and Zeus, but like from a collective standpoint, just like these old stories that were playing out, especially with themes that are just kind of like they're not helpful to anybody. Like nobody is winning anything from it. And it's like started way long ago and wasn't really like you made that decision. It's just something you're carrying type of thing. If we can turn the wheel or turn the like just like have a clearer perspective without there being like such muddy glasses on, right? Like we just like wipe the lens. It's a lot easier to kind of witness and then get to a point of like, oh, I don't want to say like reconciling, but like technically like yes. because it's not even relevant. Like it's just stuff you're carrying that's not even relevant anymore. And you're like, why? Or it's a projection. A lot of the time it's a projection. I know I'm a psychotherapist, so I have these like words and I like witness these things in like a very, I'll say, repetitive daily thing. It's like kind of what I do. But a lot of the unconscious is kind of like coming up, or the subconscious is coming up to be witnessed. So having a safe place or a safe person or a really nice calibrated nervous system to just like allow that witnessing does a lot in the clearing, we'll say, or reorientation.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling of there being letting go of the hero's journey. You know, like that's why like one of the things I'm feeling right now is that the tarot is becoming not as powerful of uh, a way to prophesize, and so like it's getting restructured into something new. Like we're coming up collectively with something new because we're going to be integrating with like the the new beings who are going to come into our planet that we haven't seen for a long time. So we're collaborating together in like you know in a way right now. Like it's going to be more fluid and dynamic, like I was saying earlier. The dynamic nature of energy is going to start playing its reality to with us a little bit more.
I wanted to loop back too on the, we haven't talked about it in the MSI practitioners circle. This is something that I mentioned earlier about the MSI. You can basically, what it is essentially like an MSI, but for a couple. You do it for a couple. And what it does is it helps harmonize the different, because there is a lot of things like we're experiencing it and you're noticing it now. There is some things that are coming across like from all these different timelines where we are in partnership or in divine union or in sacred union together, and some of that is coming forward now. And essentially you can, it's a frequency of MSI, where you can basically do it together, which was really, I'll do collective and planetary relationship all day, but I don't touch couples work. Well, yeah, imagine that, but across like the multidimensional spectrum. So it came to me as like, you can basically do a session together with a practitioner using the frequency of MSI and help harmonize some of that. Not saying all of it within like an hour and a half, but you can definitely get after it, or at least start harmonizing some of it. And I didn't, I had been experiencing some of that. Like I've noticed it in not only myself, but I've also recently met in person couples who are multidimensional, and they're kind of stepping forward with this. And I'm like, oh, that theme of like something that came through previously, like it's starting to loop back into the field, and like it's finally starting to like anchor and land. I know, trust me. Do you know how many parts we would have? It would have to be attuning personally and ancestral and parallel first. I know, trust me. So many. It's not like an hour-long session. Like this is a sustained, yes, hundreds, if not thousands, of lives, and that's why it's really confusing for the human, because we're feeling this, right? You're feeling this like in your body. You're feeling this in the emotional. You're feeling this mentally. You're noticing it come up, and especially if you're a multidimensional couple, masculine, feminine, whatever. Some of that can't be overlooked. You know what I mean? Some of that is very loud in the field, and it's like, okay, well, how do I can work on myself, and my partner can work on themselves, or so how do you harmonize that?
They both have to be doing the work, like in their own way. And like there's so much involved just for, I'll say it from right now, like in this window that we're in, I'm watching the moon rise and it's like all wavy and pretty. Okay. Um, things are lifting. We're still in like, how do I say this? It's better to almost like wait until like this aeroscamos really like loads and lands. This is why the masculine in all of us are like receiving like ear pinging, or like my right side is like, like the like it's really just going through a lot. Like my boyfriend, like he's been taking like a nap. He doesn't usually nap, like every day for the past like 2 weeks for these integrations that he does not even consciously even really know about. But like I'm witnessing so much of us like in these like they're like, I wanted to call them birthing pains, but I mean growing pains to be more relative to the concept, because we are growing, we are shifting, like we're like in our cocoons and like being we're reblooming, like, and so it's like right now I can just say from like a energetic window astrologically, I'm not saying like, oh, never do this. I'm just saying like right now it's like just getting people to even get into their own like alignment with like themselves and all parts of them, and what they hold is what they hold. Like you hold galaxies. Some of us hold planets, galaxies, nebula. Like there is so much involved on such a meta level that like, like your partner could have been like another galaxy that like destroyed your like, there's so much stuff right now in so many stories, and you can create more, etc. So it's kind of just like getting into that 0 point, getting into that still point, letting yourself really anchor in like a tree, and just letting yourself bloom, and then addressing the concept of the garden itself, which would be like the combination of your ecosystem, like relationally as well. Like it all kind of happens together, but just the fact that like I just wouldn't touch a couple sessions for like, we'd have to be in March, we'd have to be in April, it'd have to be, and I know this for my own understanding of like the energetic capacity, planetary wise, nervous system wise, and the sequence of itself. Like we're about to go into an eclipse in like 2 weeks. It'll like let everything do it on its own before you start going in. And gridding that when there's so much that's going to be continuously lifting. It's just kind of like what you were talking about the other day with like the energetic connection work, like attuning together, like co-regulating, like that's good work. Like that's great work. Like it's beautiful work. If we could just get people to get into that world for a little bit, then we can start, the integrations will naturally occur on their own by way of the safety. So it's just like, I won't even touch a couples therapy situation, like let alone like from a like that's a lot. Like just for me, I'm just really, I don't know. I can work with all these different other dynamics, but in between two people in this time, it's like let's just get stabilized to a 0 point first, and then
I feel like if anybody could do it though, Rachel, I feel like it's you from an architecture standpoint.
I will say from an
and
architecture standpoint, I understand it, but I would
that's
not
what I'm
touch it
saying.
with a
From
10-foot
gridding,
pole.
from
And
weaving.
maybe past April, maybe after we get to like, there's a lot, like maybe
Yeah, but
2027.
the way showers are. Here's the thing: the way showers
It's just
have
not
been
my
in this
call.
frequency for a while, man.
It's
Since like
not my
25.
call. I'm doing it
No,
on
they're doing
such
the
a
work.
different level. I'm doing it from so many other levels. Like, so I'm already contributing to the concept, but in a different way, from a different, I'll say point, like from a different view, a different, like, so I work the way I weave and the way I work is like, if you can come through frequencies and you can align, alignments that like are in their purest, like clearest, cleanest integrity that resonate and like a diamond sun frequency, then like all will be well. But I don't push past capacity, because in psychotherapy, that's like the first thing you learn. You never remove a what do they say? You never remove a defense, because there's a reason that the defense is there, so it doesn't break your brain until somebody is actually like ready, willing, and able, and choosing to kind of do that, or is open to that. Like, you kind of need to make sure your architecture is so that nothing collapses, and that would be foundational. So I'm really working from a foundational level first, because we don't need any combustions. We don't need any crystals exploding. We don't need anything like that. We're kind of past that point. Like, actually, I do perceive that we're in like a really good, we have good faith insurance right now. Like that's not going to happen. It's just that like it's not going to happen because using our discernment says like the rhythm, better. So that's just, I work a lot with the nervous system and the emotional body, and I see things from a very weird, interesting level. But frequency wise, it's like, why you don't want to create too much static. We're trying to kind of like tune it so that everybody can reach the same radio station of like a 0 point, just to kind of reharmonize, reconnect, like get on one heartbeat first before we go into the like really get in the weeds.
Yeah, no, I know. Thank you for sharing all that too. Like you named a bunch of themes, concepts, overlays, architecture that many of us are experiencing in the now moment. Like from a very multidimensional. I know we're talking about these kind of like higher dimensional octave like concepts, but also like a lot of us are like feeling this. Like you can there also is this frustration that I'm feeling, like the divine feminine is like frustrated with the divine masculine, right? For a lot of different reasons. Some of them are valid and some of them aren't. Just reading. Some of them are valid and some of them are like kind of projecting a little bit. Some of them are like, it's like it's like, how do we're all doing our own inner work with our inner masculine or our inner feminine, and then those of us who have the capacity are also weaving at like a collective level, right? And we're all in different spaces and places, but also like noticing, feeling, hearing, embodying all the different layers and levels of that. Man, my right ear is just pinging like crazy right now, and still having the capacity to like show up, because what I've noticed, and I'm talking like, I know I'm talking around this in a way too, is like plenty of people are like, this is the age that we live in. Like you can get online, you can make a comment, right, or you can text somebody something, right? But how many people are actually genuinely willing to step into that frequency of embodiment, like really doing the deep work, really digging down deep on ourselves, like from the micro to the macro, right? Whereas some people are like, oh, they're taking like a high, there is this like love and light thing for spirituality, where it's like, I see it in a way where it's like likes on something, or you get messages, but then when it comes to like, hey, like show up, like basically when I'm asking for embodiment, or I'm asking for whatever it is as a masculine, I'm asking for, let's just say, sacred co-creation, right? In the space, it's a little frustrating, right? From not only my point of view, but also the feminine's point of view too, because they're coming into sacred space and they're saying, hey, where the hell is the masculine at? Like why isn't the masculine doing A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, right? Or why isn't the masculine, I've heard this literally almost word for word, why can't the masculine meet me here? Why is the masculine, and this is separation again, right? It's like us versus them. This is the square peg in the round hole. And I'm like trying to help weave some of that also, but it's like climbing a mountain, when it comes to like architecture and frequency currently. I'm not saying that's the way it's going to be. This is the way it's been for a while. This is the way that we've been weaving since like sometime in 25 when we started attempting this. So yeah, shout out to all the people who are listening to this and who are doing that inner work, the micro into the macro, and who are living that embodiment frequency, because it's not easy. And if you're a stakeholder in this at all, you know in a very multidimensional way.
I'm going to say it just because I don't want it to ever sound too difficult, because this is like the easiest it's ever going to get in the concept of like what you've experienced anyway, because you literally are in a window. Like we're all in this divine window. Like it's lifting off and shedding naturally. So there's this concept of like, if you just sit with yourself in 0 point in like a very, like if you can stand the silence without fighting and resisting and like feeling like you're crawling out of your skin and just be in it, like so much occurs that you don't have to work so hard. And it's also there's a reality where like people have lives, children and jobs and stuff like that. Like that, it's really scary and hard for them to just drop everything and risk everything in a certain way, because life like is still real, but it's just being able to be witnessed and supported in a non-judgmental frequency, because like that will work wonders, and all you have to do is just be that frequency, and somebody's day is like changed. They're like, oh, they assumed that this was going to happen, and then it didn't happen, and then they're like, it's healing. Like they're like, oh, nobody like got mad at me because of this and that. Like, yeah, because everybody's going through shit. And when you remember that all of this is just because of something that we forgot, and we're just collecting all the parts and pieces and cleaning it up, like, and putting that game away so we can actually play like an even greater game, because we know all the pieces are still here and we got them all, and everybody remembers the rules or something, like, like when you remember it from that level, it's just so much easier to kind of just be like, oh, I don't have to like think that someone's going to yell at me and it's going to like kill me. Like people react to that like on a nervous system level, like just getting confronted, like, or having a conflict, like it feels like death for them. And it's really not even just about them or the other person. It's usually a miscommunication, and it's all the unhealed, like unharmonized old density stuff from like other parts of the game that like we had to play because that's the level it was at, and we needed to collect that just to understand it. Like it's just all that's just, it's just entanglements that aren't even really relevant, other than just to be witnessed and just be like, they just want to go back to their spot, like in the box in the game, like, and, we just make it so much more difficult for some reason. But that's the remembrance piece though too.
Absolutely. Remembering that we are like each one of us individually looking out into the universe that we see is us. Like when you look into the universe, you're looking into yourself. I'm looking into my universe, it's myself. Everything within it is a creation of the fractal of source that I am. And when we're playing together, we have to like kind of organize ourselves into the pieces that fit together. We've come up with like the way that we are collectively, and we're joining in those places. But we've been playing so small, like we're the little tiny gnat that like the most important gnat in the whole universe, and we haven't seen anything besides like what we were. Now we're like experiencing more of ourselves, and the more we can get into the idea that like as a fractal we are the universe, and the universe is speaking through us to experience what it needs to experience, like. And there is some points that we need to limit ourselves, because like we have a collective consciousness that we don't want to hurt again. But there's also experiences that we need to come into anew, basically, that we can't be afraid to experience it, because it's going to be the first time that that's ever been experienced within the universe that you are in, basically in a way, so that you can grow and structurize everything that you're going to become in your universe and be able to interact with everything that is around you in a cohesion and like harmonic way, and be able to feel that dynamic interaction with everybody that you come in contact with, having that instant of contact and making those more meaningful and more meaningful every time, because that's how you extend love to everything around you that is you, you know? So the more that you can extend love to yourself in your universe through the people that are there as part of your creation of bringing them into your universe, it becomes paradoxical that, you know, you're experiencing yourself through another, you know, that like, and letting that go and it just enjoying the experience of it is also something that we need to do, but understanding how big we are in it. Yeah, it's more massive than we can ever imagine almost, and it's funny to interact with people like sometimes because like um, it's so micro when you do like you know, I feel like that those, you know, like that microness is just a speck, and we're trying to like see what that speck is all about by just looking at the surface, but there's like so much more underneath that like is within us when we look into it. So I don't know, it gets confusing, but it's not confusing at all. It's funny.
When you remove the pressure to have words and like put so much mental like linearness about it, like it's pretty easy to kind of, because like it's a feeling and there's something that we recognize. But when I said this last night in Simi's container, just the concept of like when you get to the point when there's not really words, it's like means you're pretty much like where you need to be. Um, like don't, and then can you sit in it without judging it, and then you kind of hit a nice place.
Yeah, I think you hit the big point right there. It was not judging it, but blessing it, as like I said earlier, I guess. It's it helps the flow. Like I think that's one of the things that we're learning right now is like how do we get back into the flow, which is the music, which is the color, which is like how everything is formed within our own universe. Like we we can't have structure without all of those sensations, and it but we can't force. Every time we try to force those sensations, the more jagged and unharmonized they become basically. And like words, like you're saying, like words are very jagged in their essence. When we see them on a piece of paper, they're super jagged, but when we allow them to just flow from our own existence, they become harmonic and create their own resonance within themselves.
Yeah, such great points, and that leads us back to earlier what I was sharing that came through is if you can, um, you know, some of this resonance comes across as if we're able to basically sit and witness one another and speak light language. Not everybody has their light language activated. Some maybe you gotta sing, hum, buzz, tone. Um, you could even what just came through is like you could even pull up like mantras on YouTube, you know. But there's my right ear just like went deaf on that. So there is a higher level of communication that's available to you, and if words aren't wording, you know, and they aren't the most resonant, and I've had that happen before where it's like, hey, we had to stop texting one another and basically do voice messages or like call sometimes because there was just this significant gap in our communication, you know what I mean? And that way, when we're communicating in a much more aligned way, yep, telepathy stuff in Albion, man, Albion was like, how long ago? Telepathy has been online. Heart-to-heart coherence has come online. There's so many other like new forms of communication that are available too. Telepathy's been landing for a while. But yeah, there's something to be said about harmonizing the communication, and then also that new octave of what's going to be kind of coming through. And if you're experiencing like significant redirection or roadblocks, and maybe that's a clue to be like, okay, maybe now is not the time, or maybe it's like a month from now or 2 months from now, or whatever it is, holding space for that further harmonization. Synergy, yeah. And I think we're almost at time when it comes for, if you remember that the center of all that exists in innocence, it's easier to allow. Yeah, so a lot of great discussion tonight. I know we kind of touched on, it is the 2-2 portal, which is the whole thing in itself. The solar flares, talking about the astrology, talking about divine, feminine, masculine, micro into the macro. So many different things came across, but just want to kind of call all of this into completion. You joined the JJ community this time last year. Happy anniversary. Wow. Was it this time last year, really? Wow, that's interesting. But yeah, I just want to call this into completion in the now moment. We will continue to weave in the field and on Telegram. Weaving in the dream space has been something else too. Yeah, just also remembering, like, I always love to be intentional too. Remembering, if we didn't set an intention earlier, feel free to set your intention now, and calling that intention into the now moment, like with your breath. You can do a symbol, sigil, weave. You see me, like I constantly move my fingers, and it's funny because when I'm at in person, people are like, "Hey, like, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like, I get called out on it and a bit too, and it doesn't really make me feel like I don't get in my head about it or whatever. I just do it naturally, but people notice, and then they'll say, like, what is that, or why do you do that, or like, you know. Anyways, yeah. Does anybody have anything else before we call this the Zoom call into completion for today?
Yeah, I think I'm good for sure. I think we're all hitting very good pages of the book that we're writing. I appreciate each and every one of you again, and have a good evening, and may your February be good. Also, let the goodness roll for sure. Thank you
Let the
guys.
good times roll. I think that's a song, right? Let the good times roll. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Stream of Consciousness, and if not, Stream of Consciousness Galactic Grid Working on Thursday. Sending you so much love, deeply, deeply grateful, and immense gratitude for all of the weaving, all of the gridding, all of your love, all of your frequency. Love you guys so much. We will see you soon. All right, ciao, ciao. Bye.